If you're an IMG who's applying to family medicine residency, then you may wish to consider the state of Michigan. A lot of our applicants, if they don't have direct ties to Michigan, they may not recognize what a diverse and vibrant place that the state of Michigan and cities such as Detroit can be. In addition, the state of Michigan has a number of family medicine residency programs and a number of what we consider to be some top IMG friendly family medicine residency programs. And that's the topic of today's video. I'm Dr. Rajani Katta. I'm the author of The Successful Match, and I'm a part of MD2B Connect, where we've worked with a lot of IMGs over the years. And what I've found is that a lot of IMGs, if they don't have those direct ties, they may not realize how amazing Michigan can be. And in this video, we're going to highlight some of the top IMG-friendly family medicine residency programs in the state of Michigan. We're not just going over criteria such as what percentage of current residents are IMGs. Instead, we're delving deeper into some of the nuances and the different characteristics of the programs that are important for IMGs to think about, such as minimum STEP scores, number of years since medical skill graduation, and especially if there are a minimum number of months of U.S. clinical experience. So with that, let's get into the specifics of our programs. So as we're going through the IMG-friendly programs in Michigan, I want to start right off the bat with Oakland Physicians Medical Center program in Pontiac, Michigan, where 100% of their current residents are IMGs. They don't have cutoff scores. They just need to have that Step 1 and Step 2 score. They do need a med school graduation date within the past 5 years, and they offer a J1 visa, but no cutoff score, so that's something to consider. Western Michigan University, Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine Battle Creek program in Kalamazoo, Michigan, 94% are IMGs, so quite a few. They do prefer that you pass Step 1 and Step 2 on the first attempt, but they don't have a cutoff score. Now, I am going to point out a few other things, which is that they require at least 6 months of U.S. clinical experience, and they would prefer a medical school graduation date within the past 3 years. They also offer a J1 visa, so this may be a good program for somebody who meets these specific requirements. Central Michigan University College of Medicine, this is in Saginaw, which is beautiful. 68% are IMGs. They're pretty generous in terms of Step 1 and Step 2. They just specify no more than 2 failed attempts. So even if you have a Step 1 or a Step 2 failure, you're still in contention at this program. They do have a medical school graduation cutoff date, and they do offer a J1 visa. I will point out that they do require U.S. clinical experience. So if you do not have any, you want to make sure that you obtain some before applying to this program and a number of others. And remember that U.S. clinical experience really makes you valuable to a number of programs because they want you to show up day one to residency ready to go, ready to start. And having had U.S. clinical experience helps a program feel more comfortable that you're going to be able to do that. The next program is the Western Michigan University Kalamazoo, and this is a 64% are IMGs. They do require a passing score, but they don't have a minimum cutoff. They offer that J1 visa, but no requirements in terms of med school graduation date. The Detroit Medical Center Sinai Grace Michigan State University program is in Flint, Michigan. Now, they do have 83% are IMGs, and they just want to make sure that you have a passing score on Step 1 and Step 2 prior to your med school graduation. They don't offer visas, but at the same time, they don't have a medical school graduation cutoff date. MidMichigan Medical Center Midland program in Midland, Michigan has 69% are IMGs. They do want to make sure that you've passed the USMLE, but they're pretty generous, either passing on the first or second attempt, and they don't have those cutoff scores. They do want to make sure, however, that you have had U.S. clinical experience, and they prefer that that be in a family medicine setting. They also want to make sure that you have graduated from medical school within the past 3 years. They do not offer any visas. So this is a specific program for a specific kind of applicant who has, it was a fairly recent graduate who doesn't need a visa and has U.S. clinical experience, preferably in a family medicine program. Now, the Wayne State University School of Medicine program, this is in Rochester, Michigan, 67% are IMGs. They do require a passing score, step 1, step 2. Pretty generous, though, no cutoff score, and they do allow a failed attempt, no more than one failed attempt, but one failed attempt, you can still apply to this program. I will point out, however, that they require at least 6 months of U.S. clinical experience. The nice thing is that is under your control. You can make efforts to obtain that U.S. clinical experience. However, if your graduation date is in the past more than 3 years, you may not be a strong candidate for this program. They prefer that you have graduated within the past 3 years. Also note that they do not offer visas. The next program is the UP Health System-Marquette program. 50% are IMGs. Pretty generous with those, step 1, step 2, just making sure that you have passed by your second attempt. They do want to make sure that you have a recent med school graduation date. They do not offer any visas. Michigan State University program, 42% are IMGs. And again, pretty generous here. They just want to make sure that you've passed step 1 and step 2 by your second attempt. So a failure means that they could still look at your application. It does not remove you from contention. They do, however, require U.S. clinical experience, and they do want to make sure that you graduated within the past 3 years. They do not offer visas. McLaren Healthcare Bay MSU program in Bay City, Michigan. Not a lot of IMGs, but still a decent amount. 33% are IMGs. They do want to make sure that you've passed step 1 and step 2 prior to med school graduation, and they want to make sure that you've graduated within the past 3 years. Do not offer visas. ProMedica Monroe Regional Hospital program, 56, so a majority are IMGs. No cutoff scores. They just want to make sure that you've passed step 1 and step 2 on your first attempt. That's what's preferred. They also want to make sure that you've graduated within the past 2 years. They do not offer visas. The McLaren Health Macomb MSU program in Clinton Township, Michigan, has 33% IMGs. They do not have cutoff scores. They just require that you have the step 1 and step 2 scores prior to applying. And although they don't offer visas, they also do not have a graduation school cutoff, a graduation year cutoff date. St. Joseph Livingston program in Brighton, Michigan, has quite a few IMGs, 74% in fact. They're a little bit more selective in terms of they do want that you have passed step 1 and step 2 on the first attempt with at least a 210. They also want to make sure that you have at least 2 months of U.S. clinical experience in a U.S. hospital and that you have graduated within the past 24 months, so a fairly recent med school graduation. They do offer J-1 visas. St. Mary Mercy program in Livonia, a majority are IMGs, 57%. A little bit more generous in terms of step 1, step 2. They want to make sure that you've had a 200 and 210, no more than one failed attempt combined. They also require U.S. clinical experience, and they want to make sure that you've graduated within the past 2 years. They do not offer visas. Henry Ford Allegiance Health Program in Jackson, 89% are IMGs, so quite a few IMGs. They do require step 1, step 2, but they don't have a minimum cutoff score. They do also prefer a med school graduation date within the past 5 years, and they offer a J-1 visa. So this is a program that might apply for a lot of different applicants. The Sparrow Hospital Michigan State University program in Lansing, Michigan, 25% IMGs, and they do have a cutoff score of 210, and they prefer that you've passed on your first attempt. They offer a J-1 visa, but they do not have any cutoff dates in terms of med school graduation. So this may be a program to consider if it's been a while since you've graduated from medical school. Beaumont Health Grosse Pointe program in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, only 17% IMGs, but they do offer a J1 and an H1B visa. They do prefer a Step 1 and Step 2 passage on the first attempt, although they don't have a specific cutoff score. They also prefer U.S. clinical experience within the past 2 years and med school graduation within the past 2 years. Ascension Providence, Michigan State University College of Human Medicine program in Saginaw has 68% are IMGs. And they're pretty generous with Step 1 and Step 2. They only specify that you can have no more than 2 failed attempts. So if you have had a failed attempt at a Step 1 or a Step 2, this might be a program to consider. Now, having said that, this only applies for fairly recent graduates. They do specify med school graduation date, and they do require U.S. clinical experience. But having said that, they also offer a J1 visa. The Henry Ford Wayne State University program in Detroit, a majority are IMGs, 52%. They do offer J1 visas. Now, they do require Step 1 and Step 2, but they do not have a cutoff score. And the other thing to consider is they prefer that you've graduated med school within the past 2 years. So this may be a program more for recent graduates. Spectrum Health, Michigan State University program in Grand Rapids, where we spent our vacation last summer in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Beautiful city, really not well known to a lot of people, but it is a lovely city. So I'm going to put that plug in for Grand Rapids. I do not know about the specific program in terms of the residency program itself, but there's only 22% are IMGs. And they do prefer for Step 1 and Step 2 that you've passed on your first attempt, and they do have cutoff scores 200 and 217. Now, they do prefer that you've graduated within the past 3 years, and if it has been more than 3 years since you've graduated, they do require that you have had hands-on U.S. clinical experience, and they offer a J1 visa. So that wraps up the programs in Michigan. And from myself, I'm Rajani Katta, MD, and my partner, Samir Desai. From all of us here at MD2B Connect, we wish you all the best.